So there's a lot of really annoying things about Instagram, but I think one of the most unfortunate things for photographers and just for anyone using the app is how Instagram can make a perfectly good photo look terrible in terms of quality and resolution. And the reason why this happens is because every time we put a photo on Instagram, unless it's formatted properly with the dimensions and the resolution that they like, they're going to compress the image to display the way they want to display it. It's always going to run through some sort of compression procedure, and that's why photos end up looking a lot worse than we intend them to. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it today, how we can avoid that in a few simple steps, and also how you can batch these steps so you're exporting your images all at once. So first we're going to talk about how you should actually shoot your images in order for them to be ideal quality on Instagram. And I like to shoot vertically, and the reason is because I like to crop by a 4:5 ratio. The 4:5 ratio actually gives you the most real estate on Instagram. So most of your images is going to show up that way, which is great for photographers, but also people who want to have their whole image included and not just crop it to a square, which is the standard size as we know. So when you're shooting vertically, you want to give yourself enough space to crop. So where you think you want the image, actually shoot a little bit further than that, so you're going to have some room to crop in. In terms of cropping, there are actually 3 ways you can crop your images on Instagram which are acceptable, and Instagram won't make you crop them if you cut them down to this size before you upload them. So the first one we've talked about, which is 4:5. The second one is the 1:1 square, which is how we all began on Instagram, so we know that one very well. And then the third one is the 1:9:1 ratio, which is landscape or horizontal. So now that we understand that the aspect ratio should be a certain way for Instagram, we're going to talk about the actual dimensions of the photo, so the actual size. And a lot of people wonder, does this matter if we're conforming by the aspect ratio? And it does, because if the image is big, Instagram is going to compress it because the images show up quite small. If you see a photo at full resolution, it is massive, so Instagram's going to crop it down. So the rule of thumb is to make the long edge of your photo 1080 pixels. So whatever the long edge is on your photo, and that's going to be different depending on your aspect ratio, you're going to make it 1080 pixels. And I'll show you how to do this in the app as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into Lightroom app, and we're going to work on bulk cropping these photos. So this would be the next step. If you edited your photos, you had the lighting just the way you wanted it, you applied your presets that you liked, and now you're looking to format your photos before exporting. So we're going to tap on this photo here, and let's say this was in the original dimension. So this is exactly how I shot it. We have not altered it in any way in terms of size. But we want to do that 4:5 ratio, like I mentioned before, because that's what Instagram likes. So what I like about Lightroom is it has that ratio built right into it. You're just gonna click on the first tool here on the navigation bar, and you're going to go to a 4:5 ratio. So that's going to crop it. You can adjust it how you like. Click the check mark. Looks good. So we want to apply this ratio to all of our other photos, right? But to go through and do it manually, well, that's a pain. So we don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to click in the top right corner on these 3 dots. We're going to copy the settings, and we're going to go into Tools, click off everything else, and just make sure the crop is selected. Let's double check that. Oops, we don't want to check them all. we want to check just crop. So we know that's selected. We're going to click check mark to apply, and those settings have been copied to the clipboard, meaning we can apply these now to all the rest of our photos. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go back, we're going to click select by holding down and selecting, and then we're going to click paste at the bottom here, apply. And this is going to apply that crop setting that you copied before to all of these images, and you don't have to go through them one by one. And click done. And then here's where we can go through them quickly. Does a pretty good job on its own, but you might have a few that you want to adjust. See, you can see the crop when on this photo, but you can adjust it if you want. But for the most part, if you shot in the middle, it's going to do a pretty good job. And we want to save time here, so we're not going to be picky. So that's done. The next step is changing the dimensions, because Instagram has explicitly said that the image should be 1080 pixels at its long edge. So that's the absolute maximum its long edge can be. So we want to make sure that these images don't exceed that, because then they're going to be compressed. So again, we're going to hold down and click to select them all. And then we're going to press share at the bottom, and we're going to look for the export to camera roll, but we're going to click on these little toggle bars beside it. And this is where we're going to make sure we select a custom dimension and set the long side to 1080 pixels, image quality 100%. So Instagram is going to like that very, very much. There will be no compression whatsoever. We're going to click the check mark and then export to camera roll. To make your photos really pop, you can add a few final touches right at the end of your editing that'll really just make things a lot clearer. And one of those settings is sharpening, and then the other is clarity. So I like both of these, but you do have to use them carefully, because overdoing it can make your photo look too detailed and a little bit weird. For the most part, if you've used the formatting recommendations that I've stated previously, your photos will look pretty good. But there's a few other tweaks that you can do if you want to just make them pop that much more. And it is adjusting the sharpening. So we're gonna go into detail here. You can see I've sharpened this a little bit. You can sharpen your image. General rule of thumb, do not go over the 50 mark. It ends up looking a little weird. Zoom in to just see what it's doing there. You can sharpen it, and then you can also enhance the detail, which again, just don't go over 50. I just feel like it's just naked. And yeah, that's pretty much what you can do just to kind of top it off. But like I said, if your images are clear and you do the formatting properly, you shouldn't need it, but a little bit of sharpening can definitely go a long way, especially around certain features like eyes and lips. Like, it really helps those details pop. So I would throw that in there if you really want to just top it all off.